If I asked you what the best melee class in TF2 was, you'd probably say it's one of these two guys, right? This guy kills people instantly with backstabs, and this guy can, like, well, you know. But what if I told you that the best melee class isn't one of these two? It's actually this idiot.
Ah, hell.
The engineer can literally one-shot light classes with his melee weapon. And all it takes is a little bit of sauce spaghetti. When engineer picks up his buildings to move them, he can actually store a melee swing. If you press right click and left click at the exact same time, you'll pick up your building, and if you did it right, a weird phantom melee swing animation will appear on your screen. If after that, you then place down your building, but hold left click while doing it, you can release that stored melee swing to swing twice in the space of one melee attack. There's only one melee animation playing, but I'm throwing out 2 melee attack hitboxes. Now the timing on this is pretty tight, but fortunately, you don't actually have to do the timing. If you just put this in a config somewhere and then bind it to a button, and now if you press that button to pick up your building, holding left click to place it down again will give you 2 melee swings. Now the lawful good way to use this is to move your buildings around slightly faster. Swinging that extra melee swing at a building makes it rebuild about 0.1 seconds faster. But that's like boring, no one cares about that. The really funny thing to do with this is to blow people's brains out, obviously. The Gunslinger is the obvious pairing for this, because it has a combo attack feature that gives you a guaranteed crit on every third swing. And this tech makes that third swing come out a whole lot sooner. And literally one-shotting light classes is also comedy gold. And it can also make for some really cool clips.
That was a flaccid that.
Oh, I got it! I don't think too hard about how many attempts that took to get right. Just don't, you know, just don't think about that. No, my first melee hit the fuck. Also, don't do this bug in ETF2L or RGL Highlander because you will get permanently banned because it's cheating. Don't do that. Just don't. The next tech I want to talk about involves editing really, really cool YouTube videos, because this video is sponsored by Filmora. The most important key to a good YouTube video is good editing, and Filmora makes good editing unbelievably easy. They have a bunch of powerful tools that use AI to do crazy stuff, like AI video translations to translate your content from one language to another, or AI speech to text that automatically puts captions into the video for you. And most importantly, they have the Smart Short Clips feature that can take your long-form videos and automatically turn them into short-form content that you can upload to TikTok or YouTube Shorts. So if you have a podcast or something, this tool is perfect for turning your 2-hour conversations into catchy 1-minute clips that can hit the algorithm. Filmora speeds up tons of the tedium in video editing, whilst still giving you the final artist's touch to make sure it looks exactly how you want it to. So your editing can look perfect every single time. No questions asked. So download Filmora today with the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you to Filmora for sponsoring this video. So when it comes to that Engi tech we just talked about, I can't find any sources on why this bug happens. But the next thing I want to talk about doesn't really require that much explaining, and it's something that you've all probably heard of. It's called a telesync. It's something that you see a lot of in jump maps. Jump maps teleport you back to the start when you fail a jump. So you can jump outwards, fire a rocket at the start of the jump, you can sync with that rocket to go really fast. Now, I never mentioned this one in my other tech videos because everyone seems to think that this is jump map only tech. But honestly, I just think all of you weren't thinking big enough. Oh, shit. Engineer has been able to teleport you the whole time. It's been in the game the whole... This, unsurprisingly, requires the help of a friend. But it's actually not even that hard to do. The hardest part is having your friend's teleporter not get destroyed literally immediately. I also will admit that I stole this idea from a player called Herb, who hits a tele triple in a real match to just absolutely shit on this poor medic player. I'll link his video in the description. Now, there is another way to telesync in a real match that you might not have thought of, and that's on servers with instant respawns. You can pre-fire a spawn door, press a kill bind, then sync off of the rocket as it comes towards you. I got this idea from a new pastime game mode called P-Ball. It's pastime, but soldiers only, 2v2, with instant respawns and no lock-ons. In this mode, telesyncing with kill binds is actually incredibly powerful. cool, and it lets you do some really cool stuff. But if this is a bit too niche for you, that's fair enough, because there's also Higher Tower. You know that one map where the tower goes like all the way up into space or whatever? If you get to the top, fire 2 rockets downward, then killbind, you can run out of your spawn and catch the 2 rockets at the bottom to sink up into the sky for a crazy clip. Yes, I know I did miss the market garden. Thank you for noticing. But listen, alright, I sat here for an hour doing this and I got like 7 attempts out of that hour because most of the time was just spent climbing the stupid tower. Also, if you think about this for like more than 4 seconds, you realize it's insanely pointless because you could just like jump off high and then triple normally like a normal person. But we all know that's just not as cool. Sadly, when servers say they have instant respawns, their respawns aren't actually instant. There's still like 2 or 3 seconds of staring at your limp, lifeless corpse before they put you back in the game. Which sucks, because it really limits how many maps that you can realistically do this on. But it is possible, you just need to be creative enough. But for the next one, we're gonna have to get a little bit dumber. And a little bit more pointless. Look at these 4 blocks. The first block is 70 hammer units tall. The next 71, then 72, then 73. A hammer unit is just a unit of distance in the hammer editor, the map making tool that people use for TF2. And a hammer unit is incredibly small, but a block that's 70 units tall can be jump crouched on top of. But just 1 unit taller than that, and suddenly pressing jump then crouch doesn't work. This block is just a tiny bit too tall. But because TF2 is really old and stupid and dumb, jumping then crouching doesn't get me up here. But if I press crouch first and then press jump, suddenly I can make it on top of this block just fine. Same with the 72 unit block. I can crouch jump up here, but I can't jump crouch up here. This might seem weird, but there is an explanation to this. When TF2 calculates your jump height, it does it with a formula that looks like this. But when you crouch, then jump in the middle of your crouch animation, the game forgets this part. And this is seemingly just because of a coding error. So a regular jump gives you 271 units a second of upwards velocity, but a crouch jump, ignoring gravity for some reason, gives you 277 units of upwards velocity. And in-game, this equates to 2 hammer units of extra jump height. If you want real in-game examples of this, then look at the payload cart on Badwater. If I jump crouch, I can't get on top of the cart whatsoever, but if I crouch jump, I make it just fine. And there's also one here on CP Sunshine. You can jump up these boiler things, then crouch jump onto this beam. A regular jump crouch can climb all the way up the boilers, but it can't make the final jump. But back to these blocks. There's a 4th block here that we haven't talked about. This block is 73 hammer units tall. A regular jump crouch can't make this jump, but a crouch jump can't make it either. It's just a tiny bit too high. But there is a way to make this jump, and it's really stupid. The way you make this jump is by doing a tick perfect B hop, then a tick perfect crouch jump B hop immediately afterwards. If you do it perfectly, you get 1 single unit of extra jump height off the ground. And this is like, it's like really dumb. Like, I don't know how anyone even figured this out. And the reason why this works is it's just incredibly stupid. In TF2 and most other Source games, every single surface has what's called a surface extension, a tiny invisible barrier between you and that surface that extends out just 2 hammer units further than the actual surface itself. Originally, this was to prevent people in older Source games getting stuck in geometry because of floating point errors. But now, with our modern computers, this isn't really a problem anymore, but the surface extension is still in the game. The floor also has a surface extension that you're pretty much constantly stood on top of. During regular gameplay, after jumping, you're about 0.7 hammer units off of the ground, standing on this surface extension. This 0.7 number is just pure coincidence, based on the speed and height of a normal jump. But you can manipulate your jumps in order to stand a little bit higher on that surface extension. If you do a tick perfect B hop, jumping at the exact time you hit the ground, you will then land 1.4 units above the ground on this surface extension. Then a crouch jump B hop immediately after that allows you to crouch jump from 1.4 units elevated off the ground. This gives you a jump that's roughly 0.7 units higher than normal. This is only a tiny difference in height, but it's enough to allow you to crouch jump 73 units into the air. And as far as I know, this tech in a real game is almost completely useless. To my knowledge, there's no spot in any regular map that requires a 73 unit crouch B hop to get up to. The only place place I've seen this actually used is in KZ maps, on servers like the Climb.tf servers. These maps are essentially parkour maps, and every now and then they'll feature a 73 unit jump that forces you to learn this super niche tech. Now, speaking of parkour maps, I have one last incredibly pointless piece of tech to show you. Look at this gap on PL Pier. If I'm playing Medic or Spy, this gap is too big to jump at in a straight line. The jump's just too far. But it's relatively easy to wiggle strafe to gain enough speed to cross this gap. But what if I told you that you actually can cross this gap while jumping in a perfectly straight line? This is called Wallstrafing, because despite my mouse barely moving at all, I'm actually gaining speed in the air while I do this jump. So how do I do it? Well, the important part is this wall here. First, you have to aim your mouse almost directly forwards, but angled a teeny tiny bit towards the left. Then start walking and crouch jump off the ledge. Make sure to crouch jump and not jump crouch due to the height difference that we talked about earlier. After jumping off the ledge, immediately let go of W and start holding A. As you do this, aim your mouse a very tiny amount to the right. If you do this correctly, you will start gaining a bit of speed in the air. The mouse movement is the tricky part. If you move your mouse too much or not enough, then you don't gain any speed. And if your mouse movement isn't perfect, you will gain speed, but not the maximum amount of speed that you can possibly gain from a wall strafe. This tech is like 99.9% useless, but it does let you cross some gaps in some interesting ways. The real use case for it, again, is in KZ servers. Like, check out this jump on Climb Luzon. This ramp I'm stood on is a pixel walk, meaning that you can't just stand on it like a normal ledge. You have to wiggle into the wall a little bit to be able to stand here. I talk more about pixel walks in this video here if you're interested. You need to jump from one pixel walk ramp to another. Wiggle strafing this is completely impossible. You cannot get this much distance in a single jump while also staying inside the wall enough to land on the ramp at the other side. This is only possible with a wall strafe. But as far as I'm aware, there's no spots like this in real TF2 maps. So the tech isn't exactly useful. But we're all super ultra mega nerds here anyway, so I know you found it interesting. I just know you did. And if any super ultra mega nerds in the comments want to tell me about more super niche TF2 tech that I might not know about, then do let me know. Because if you give me enough pointless TF2 garbage to talk about, then I'll make another video just like this one. But I've made a few videos like this, and my knowledge of stuff worth talking about is running incredibly dry. But fingers crossed, maybe someone will unveil some forbidden technology that will just demand a new video. But until then, goodbye, and thanks for watching.